Oh, you're here for the discussion. Oh, great. I thought you were, that's awkward. What's going on, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So, as you've seen from the title and the thumbnail, we are talking a little bit about Persona today, which I don't really do very often on this channel, but that's definitely going to change because, please know, I am a massive Persona fan. I absolutely adore Persona. You know what? I'll probably even go ahead and put up my reaction to Joker's first gameplay when they revealed him for Smash. Look! Joker steals the show! Damn! Damn! Oh, he's gonna be a hard-ass main.
What? Is that even allowed?
Look! 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 Oh my god! I'm so happy! I could fucking cry! I'm so happy!
Smash is looking cool.
Look! Oh my god! It looks so good! Yeah, no. This is not a game. So, it's kind of rare for me to do this, but it kind of warranted a discussion that I figured, you know what? Now that this little thing has kind of dropped, this little news thing, I figured, you know what? Better time now to talk about it than ever, right? This is something that I've had in the back of my mind for a long time, but now we have more of an excuse to talk about it because it might be a very real thing. Let's talk about this. At the time of this recording, just a couple of hours ago, a new domain was registered for a Persona 4 remake. This is a very common thing in the business world, especially of video games, where they kind of need to go about copywriting and domaining names for future projects that they want to put out. And, you know, with big name developers that you'll follow, you'll see this a lot with Sega, with Sony, with PlayStation, and stuff like that. They do this kind of thing all the time. However, in this particular instance, it's kind of interesting because the last time they did something like this, specifically with Persona 3 Reload, we got a reveal trailer for that not even 4 months later. Like, we were now fully aware of a Persona 3 remake not that long after. And here we are a year later, and Persona 3 Reload is very much a thing. Now, as you can see from the title and thumbnail, I'm a little finicky about the possibility of something like that happening with Persona 4. As much as I love Persona 3 and Persona 3 Reload, I was definitely under the impression that we didn't desperately need something like that, considering the fact that Persona 3 FEZ is very much accessible on pretty much any platform you have, whether it be PC, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, it's everywhere. You can get that anywhere. But now it's remade, it's shinier, it's newer, and it's a little more streamlined for newer Persona players. And that's kind of the point. It was kind of to reel in new players that were a little nervous about getting into the older game, but now this one has been streamlined, made easier for people to get into. And you know what? I totally get it, that's perfectly fine. However, Persona 4, I don't think it's in that much of a desperate need of a very similar situation because it's already not that hard to get into, and it's, again, very much accessible on any platform you have. So, I've been a little on the fence about that, because I like Persona 4 a lot. I've purchased Persona 4 Gold a couple of times now, about 3 times now at this point. Most recently on PC, because why the hell not? But a remake? I don't know. Which is why I've jotted down a list of my positives and negatives in regards to this very topic. Would it be worth it or would it not be worth it? Let's go ahead and weigh the pros and the cons in regards to this little tidbit of news here. Again, not that it's guaranteed. 1,000,010 things can go wrong, but we'll have to see what happens. But either way, let's talk about some of the positives and negatives, starting with the positives. Like I just said a moment ago, it would definitely be a lot easier for newcomers to get into because it would be a newer, shinier coat of paint and a little more streamlined in the gameplay aspects because it's not really meant for you and me, people who have played Persona 4 Gold in 1,000,000 times, to play again. It's more so to attract the newcomers, new players that have been interested in Persona but never really got the chance to play the older ones, you know, in their, you know, older age because it didn't really appeal as much to them. But now that it looks a little more like Persona 5, which is exactly what Persona 3 Reload is, they might actually have more interest in giving it a shot. And that's something that I'm more than down for because, I mean, you know how business goes. The more people playing this game, the more money they amass. The more money they amass up at Atlas, the better the games we get down the line, or at least the better they're able to fund the projects that they want to work on. Especially with Atlas. You want them to have as much money as possible for any project they want to work on because I'm telling you right now, man, Atlas got you. Atlas got you. The next positive here is if this is really a very familiar case like it was with Persona 3 Reload, it probably won't be too long until we actually do see some form of reveal for Persona 3R, which, you know, we don't know how long it's going to be until it actually comes out, but that means it's already been in development for some time now, probably from a different team up at Atlas, and that we'll probably see it much sooner than later, which would be a great track record because we just got Persona 3 Reload last year, so I wasn't expecting to see anything Persona related for another like 5 years or something like that. I was perfectly fine with waiting because I want them to hammer down, polish up, and do whatever they gotta do to make these games as clean and as healthy as possible, because these games are everything to me. I adore these games with all my heart, and I love seeing what they come up with these roles, with these characters. And again, the better these games do, the more products that they put out that are actually actively successful, the more we can fund and see actual polish in games going forward. And then lastly, again, if it is streamlined, it'll be a lot easier for newer players to get into, and it's going to be, you know, really good for whatever new voice talent they bring in. Just like Persona 3 Reload, they got a brand new cast of people to voice all of these beloved characters, and let me just say, they all did a splendid job. Beautiful job. I love the casting job that they did for Persona 3 Reload. They killed it. Absolutely out the park. And I have no doubt that they'll probably do the same thing with Persona 4R and probably get a very diverse cast that has a lot of experience in the field, or probably some new blood that, you know, can really show their stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really excited to see what kind of talent they bring to the table, and hopefully that gets more, you know, studios and things like that looking for more talent just like this, and maybe this will open some doors for them too. I feel like that's kind of a win-win, right? I went through those positives really fast, much faster than I was expecting, by the way, so let's just go ahead and move on and flip the coin so we can talk about the negatives. My first major negative is that if it is going to be a very similar situation, and, you know, as remakes do, it's likely going to be a situation in which it's just going to be Persona 4 but shiny. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of thing where a lot of us, you know, people who have grown up with the Persona series, or at least we've been playing it for a long time, that's not what I had in mind, you know what I mean? If they were to make a couple of changes and fix up some story elements, maybe change up some things here and there, maybe add on a thing or two to the ending to make it, you know, new, have something new to look forward to, that would be great. But Persona 3 Reload, if that's anything to go by, that means we're going to be experiencing the exact same story that we know and love already, beat for beat, with no real changes other than stuff to the general gameplay, which I gotta tell you is a little frustrating, man, because even with Persona 3 Reload, it was a while in, and when I was getting to the end, it was staggering a little bit. I was taking a lot more time to get through that than I intended because, you know, I already knew what that game was about. I already knew everything there was to know about Persona 3, so I was just kind of like playing other things, doing other things, and I was staggering a little bit more than I wanted to when it comes to finishing Persona 3 Reload, because I already knew it like the back of my hand. So in the case of Persona 4, I'm kind of worried that a similar situation is going to happen with a lot of people, in which, you know, we already know it. So what's the point in us picking it up? You know what I mean? Unless there's new content to look forward to, which, again, if 3 is anything to go by, there probably won't be. But again, like I said, it's not necessarily for me. It's not for somebody who knows this game in and out. It's for the newcomers that don't like the way that the originals look, and they want to just pick up the new, shinier version. Also, another negative that I just kind of thought about, kind of renders the originals kaput, doesn't it? Because why would you ever now go out of your way to purchase Persona 3 FEZ or even Persona 4 Golden when you have Persona 3 Reload and Persona 4R available to you with a new shinier coat? Like, I don't know, right? I feel like that kind of renders those games a little bit more on the pointless side. And it's kind of ironic when you think about that, because as somebody that covers Pokemon, one of the biggest reveals that they could ever have is a remake for an older generation. And, you know, that makes sense because those games are completely unavailable usually. People were super excited for the Gen 4 remakes because nobody's rocking a DS like that anymore. At least you can't purchase new copies of a DS and then Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum. This is like the only way they could get their hands on it. But with remakes being available, kind of renders the games that you work so hard to port over to modern consoles a little bit more obsolete, don't you think? Like, maybe you're not making as much money off of it as you used to, but now you'll make no money off that, which I guess, I don't know, if the game is selling well, then I guess at the end of the day it doesn't really matter all that much, but I don't know, I feel like that's definitely something to consider. My next thing, and this one you may disagree with, but I feel like a lot of time, manpower, and brain power is kind of being utilized in a way it shouldn't be. I just feel like all this time and brain power could be spent, at the very least, firstly, remaking Persona 1 and 2, games that are actually inaccessible, games that are actually genuinely outdated, and games that need that kind of polish and more modern flair, right? I feel like that would make a lot more sense, because I've never played Persona 1 or 2. I've barely seen gameplay of it. Sometimes I'll use music from both games, but I don't know anything about them. I don't know any real plot details or anything, and the only way for me to get those, I mean, are they? They're not on PC, right? I don't know. Maybe it's my fault. I'll look into it. I just kind of jumped into making this video, but I feel like Persona 1 and 2 remakes would definitely be a bigger and more important task than giving us games back that we already have access to. Because Persona 1 and 2, if there's games that people will turn away from, it's those games. Because those were developed well before Atlus came up with a true style, true aesthetic for this series, right? So, I'm just saying, man, I feel like an actual genuine Persona 1 or 2 remake would absolutely go bonkers. And, you know, maybe at the very least, if they're still in their remake era, because Sega does seem to be in their remake era with their big project of re-releasing all of these different games from, you know, their classic era, like Jet Set Radio and stuff like that, Crazy Taxi. Maybe that's, you know, part of it, and maybe that's why we're getting something like Persona 4 R as opposed to something newer. But if we're still on that train after Persona 4 R, if that happens, then I feel like I would love to see Persona 1 or 2 remade, and I would definitely love that, because most people who are into these games have never played those. I'm being so honest with you. I don't know. The problem now is that if this is a real thing, that means that all of this time they've spent developing Persona 4 instead of working on those potential remakes, and now it'll be even longer before we potentially see something like that, if we ever see something like that. So, I don't know, that's a little scary. And of course, in a very similar vein actually, this also applies to Persona 6, because we have been on Persona 5 for almost a decade. It's been like 8 years, 9 years or something. It's been way too long. It's very much time for Persona 6. We have gotten more spin-off games for Persona 5 than any other game in the franchise. It's time for new blood. It is time for something new. We have been waiting for Persona 6 for almost a decade, and now we know that Persona 4 Remake was in the works instead. It's an issue with modern era, is that a lot of big companies have become a little bit more creatively bankrupt, right? And I'm not saying that applies to Atlus specifically, because it's not like we haven't seen some quality games from Atlus ever. We just got Metaphor ReFantazio, and that was a stellar game, absolutely one of my favorites that I've beaten this year. One of my favorite games that I've beaten in recent times. And, you know, they show out. They got good quality up there, but I want to see that talent put to use to create something new, as opposed to just giving us something that we already have access to, giving us something. It's like getting a second bigger plate with a little more butter and garlic on the bread. You know what I'm getting at? Like, I would have loved to get a reveal by now, or something, some kind of news in regards to a Persona 6. I want to see what new concepts we come up with, what new stories we come up with, because, oh my goodness. I mean, granted, I could possibly consider Metaphor something of a Persona 6, because it's not like it's all that different, but it kind of does its own thing. It's not meant to be Persona. It is meant to be Persona, but it's not meant to be Persona. You know what I mean? You get what I'm getting at. So I just hope that this didn't too badly interfere with the new stuff we could eventually be getting with a Persona 6, or at least a new Persona title. Because we are way overdue for a Persona 6, in my personal opinion. Overall, I just have a couple of mixed feelings when it comes to the possibility of a Persona 4 remake, because again, it's not like we don't already have access to it. I can literally go play Persona 4 Golden right now, which is already a re-established better experience than Persona 4 Standard. So to get another remake of even that, because I played the Persona 4 multiple times, so to get a remake of that would just be like, all right, now we're kind of pushing it. You know what I mean? Like, now I gotta spend $70 on a remake of a game that I already know through and through, like all these characters that I already know and adore. It's like, we could be spending that time on something new. We could be utilizing this brilliant talent, this awesome talent, for something new. Like, yes, it's gonna be stellar to see those sick-ass, beautiful, sexy menus that they always manage to pull out, but I want to see that with a new project. Metaphor ReFantazio does that, but I want to see more Persona specifically too, okay? So, I don't know. I'm leaning, if I'm being completely honest, a little more towards the negative side, because it just feels a little more unnecessary, even more so than Persona 3. And I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind once I actually see it, and maybe hopefully when we do see it, maybe we'll see that they did make some major changes that would make it worth it for Persona players that have already played through 4 multiple times to actually jump back into the fray with this new shiny title. But we'll have to see. Otherwise, though, I think I've said my piece, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree that Persona 4 Remake as a concept seems a little more on the unnecessary side? You think we could be utilizing that talent for something new, for a fresh, new game, Persona 6 possibly? Or do you think that this is a necessary change? They should be doing this, and they should be making something like Persona 4 a little more streamlined for modern Persona audiences? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yes, sir, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor for dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So, thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor for taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! Whoops.